Good evening, viewers. Welcome to Cancer with Dr. Denise Ejoh, the CEO of Komoot Cancer Foundation, in partnership with Plus TV Africa. Together we fight, together we win. I want to say a very big thank you to all of you joining us this evening as we champion our cause in 2025, giving us an opportunity to be able to share and look at what the future holds for cancer patients. Today, what we're talking about, breaking the silence, a survivor's story of childhood cancer, and our guests are Ms. Kemi Oyewusi, and our consultant working with her is Dr. Olufemi Adefeinti. Dr. Adef, I don't like to pronounce names wrong, so I'm going to go Adefeinti. Doc, am I correct?
Yes, well, you are correct. I'm Dr. Olufemi Adefeinti.
Awesome. I got that. And with me also is our survivor champion, childhood cancer survivor, Adekemi Adewum.
Adekemi Oyewusi.
Oyewusi. I don't know why. I was like, what's going on? All right. Hello, Kemi, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So let's start this conversation. Today we celebrate International Cancer Day for 2025. Every year in February on the 15th, the world unites to raise awareness and express support for children and adolescents with cancer, their families, and survivors. It is a reminder of the urgent need to improve access to quality care, emotional support, and financial assistance for young patients. This year's theme, Better Survival is Achievable, emphasizing through global solidarity, early diagnosis, and accessible treatment, every child can have a fighting chance in life, of which we have a survivor with us. So in Nigeria, childhood cancer is a growing health crisis. According to WHO, approximately 400,000 children are diagnosed with cancer annually worldwide. In Nigeria, late diagnosis, lack of specialized treatment centers, and high cost of care contribute to the alarming low survival rates. So let's jump into this conversation as I now give you a brief synopsis of who our guests are. Starting with our survivor, Adekemi was diagnosed with Burkitt lymphoma. Adekemi is a project manager with over a decade of experience and a childhood cancer survivor of over 25 years. She's a global advocate, passionately dedicated to raising awareness, driving policy change, and ensuring equitable care for children battling cancer. She serves on the steering committee of the Global Childhood Cancer Survivors Network and leads the EduCare Project, an initiative she founded to provide medical and educational support for vulnerable children with cancer. Kemi, I want to say thank you very much for joining me. You look really good.
Thank you, Dr. Denise, for having me, and thank you for spotlighting children today.
Thank you. It's quite nice. You look very good. You must have had a very busy day.
Yes, of course I have had. We are here, and this is what we should do. So spotlight and talk about the need for us to prioritize children with cancer.
Awesome. And in the house, we've also got someone very special who is Dr. Femi Adefeinti. He's a consultant pediatrician, a hematology oncologist, and is the head of the pediatric hematologist oncology unit in University of UOAU Teaching Hospital, Ife. Let me just put it like that, because if I go any other way, I'll get it wrong. He has a first degree in medicine and surgery from the Obafemi Awolowo University, and he's a fellow of the West African College of Physicians, pediatric specialist. He has his post-fellowship training in pediatric oncology at Tatan Memorial Hospital in Mumbai, India, and has also benefited from different training programs in pediatric oncology in different institutions, including Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston, Children's Hospital, Global Oncology and Blood Disorder Education Program also in Boston, and Princess Maxima Center for Pediatric Oncology. And today's reason I've said special is that he actually is also our guest consultant. So I've got doctor and patient together. Thank you both for joining us. Thank you,
Thank you
Doc.
for having us. Thank you.
Dr. Denise.
Very nice to have you. Thank you. So we're going to start this conversation with Kemi, and let's see what Kemi has to say. Kemi, can you share with us briefly your personal journey with childhood cancer and how it has shaped your life today?
Okay, so my journey with childhood cancer started over 25 years ago, about 27 actually. I was 8 years old. I was diagnosed with Burkitt lymphoma. It started off very unusual sickness. I mean, I went to school very okay, but knowing it to me, I had a swelling in my stomach, but I didn't pay attention to it, and my mom didn't know as well. But when I got to school, I started having pains from that side of the stomach. And my teacher noticed this, and then they had to send me back home because I couldn't function well in school. I was in primary 3 at the time, and that was how the journey started. So we're in and out of hospital, thinking it was, typhoid. Maybe there was something I ate that was disturbing me. So I was in and out of hospital for more than 3 months. We were unable to ascertain what exactly it was that was disturbing me. And at this point, I want to actually recognize the hospital that paid attention to it and said, no, this looks like a tumor and it needs to be transferred to the teaching hospital. This happened at one hospital in Osun State, Biket. The owner of the hospital came in and I saw the condition. I was like, we need to transfer her to a tertiary hospital, And I remembered I walked into that hospital March 8th, 1998. And that was the beginning of a different journey in my life because I didn't step out of the hospital until 2 years after. It was a different thing. It was so strange that we honestly didn't even know that it was cancer for a long time. But because of how peculiar the disease was, the treatment processes were, my chemo stages, how I lost my hair, it felt very strange to see things like that happening. And back then, cancer was, the Yoruba name for cancer is jejere. So I knew my mom knew what it was, but it was seen more of a cultural thing, affliction. People didn't really, even though I'm from a very enlightened home, they knew that there was a need for me to go to the medical center. I needed to get the, orthodox medicine to cater for my care. But then there was still this mindset that it could be an affliction. And then considering my background, trust me, it wasn't easy at all. But then I think that one of the things that helped me, aside God's grace, having, exceptional medical practitioners that helped me at Obafemi Awolowo University Teaching Hospital, because from the day I entered, my treatment began. And that was also because there was availability of funds. And, when I look back at that journey, even 27 years after, treatments are still being done by the family. It's not something that government really helps to support. It was a very tough one for me. And I was in active treatment for 2 years. I couldn't go to school, so I lost 2 years of my life to cancer. But thankfully, my school helped me. I didn't have to repeat classes. Reintegration was a bit easy for me. But one of the challenges that I had was I had mental disorder because it felt like I was isolated and I didn't understand the process of having to take chemo through my spinal cord every other time. I think it was a whole lot for me as a child. And considering this was a formative year for me, I wasn't allowed to do things that I would love to do. I wasn't allowed to play with my siblings as much as I would want to. The schools I wanted to go to, I couldn't go to those schools because even very early, later I had to, but at that stage, my parents felt like I needed more care. So I was a bit isolated and that affected me a bit. So it took a toll on me because even after my active treatment, I think I had my follow-up for 10 years. Roughly 10 years before, I was told that I could, I could just stay apart. Things are okay now, and I can continue my life. But one of the things that I didn't have was adequate information for me to understand as much as I would want to. And how has it shaped my life today? I think that the curiosity in me led me into advocacy. Today, I'm a global advocate for childhood cancer, and I'm very proud that this is something that has shaped my person, my personality, the need for me to be a voice for the millions of children in Nigeria that may be battling cancer and they don't know. The fact that I didn't have so much knowledge because I was young, naive, my parents also didn't know so much, was the reason why I delved myself into understanding more. And most times I go to cyber cafe back then, mine was just going to check online for what is bucket lymphoma. I used to spell it as BUCKET, but then Google corrected it for me. And that's how my journey, understanding what challenges I had, how do I navigate things better, I began to study things and knowing things myself. And today, I give God the glory. I'm here, I'm alive, and I'm adding my voice to the global voice in terms of childhood cancer. Thank you.
Emmy, thank you very, very much. Okay, so based on that, Doc, I'm going to ask you a quick question, and then we're going to most probably take a break. And that's going to be, what are some of the biggest challenges faced by children diagnosed with cancer in Nigeria?
Thank you, Dr. Dennis. I think that question is actually for me.
Yeah, that's for you. That's what I said.
Yes. Well,
it's not for
let
me.
me start by saying, generally in Nigeria, medical care is a challenge to many of us, to many of the population in Nigeria. Now, come to talk about medical care for cancer. When you talk of managing cancer, there are a lot of things that come into play. Key of such is personnel and infrastructure. Before now, we have few personnel on ground that are trained in caring for children with cancer. But recently, with the JAPA syndrome, if I can use that word, we are very, very short. I'm talking of personnel. People that are well trained in taking care of children with cancer. Very few, and in the recent times, we are even smaller in terms of number. So that is a big challenge, having personnel. Then the other aspect is the infrastructure. Most of the time, even when children are diagnosed, they are diagnosed late, not because the few personnel on ground, they don't know what to do, but the diagnostic facilities are not just there in many of the centers. Only few centers are equipped to diagnosing cancers in children. Because in the recent time, it is not just enough to say, oh, you brought in your child, we've done a clacking, we've done this and that. There are a lot of high-tech diagnostic tools which we still lack in making a precise diagnosis of specific tumors in children, because cancers in children are of diverse kind. And so one needs to get to the real diagnosis to be able to institute correct and proper management. So diagnosis is still a big challenge. And even when they are diagnosed, another problem is accessing drugs that we need to take care of these children. Many of these drugs are very costly and very scarce within the country. So these are challenges, of taking care of children. And the funny thing is that many of the children we see are from low socioeconomic background, many of them. Generally, 70% of the population, are poor, but not to talk of cancer now in children whose parents are poor. So even when you now make your diagnosis, after a lot of stress here and there, to initiate treatment is a big challenge, because accessing these drugs is a big challenge because of cost and because of availability. So these are few of the challenges we are facing.
Let's take a quick break here. We're going here for a break now, and then when we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Dear viewers, we're going to take a break now, and we'll be back with you shortly as we go for a break quickly.
Has been made. We still have this myths and beliefs, cultural beliefs that people around us have in because of our African nature. Some people live in denial. Some people prefer to go for herbs instead of the modern treatment. And then even those that agree to have treatment, supportive treatment is still lacking. I talked about some blood support, blood product transfusions like platelet transfusion. I talked about it, which is unavailable in many centers.
The understanding of childhood cancer is still very, very poor. And I know that a lot of research is ongoing as to the cause and possible way of preventing them. But for now, if it cannot be prevented, the goal will be early detection and then curative as much as possible.
Pediatric cancer has always been an ongoing program, and every year, day in, day out, we do it. This year also, we've done it, and we are still continuing to do it. So, pediatric cancer is an ongoing project for the Lions Club International and in our district 404B4 Nigeria.
There's so much that we need to begin to do now, primarily because when a child is diagnosed with cancer, probability of survival is very high, as against if you diagnose it in an adult. So probability of survival of an adult is very low, but probability of survival for children is extremely high. So it's a big gamut of work that we need to begin to look at. Then the peculiarity of sub-Saharan Africa and low-income countries like Nigeria presents another challenge. So it's big work when it comes to cancer care.
The children here to make donations and even gift them with toys so that they know that some people like the Lions care about children of the world, in particular those living with cancer. So this is a very big program for us.
Welcome back. So we're going to continue and finish up this part of the conversation from the doc's perspective on treatment options for the children. So doc, continue. Sorry, we had to stop for a break.
So thank you, Dr. Denise. Like we said, we talked about challenges to cancer management in Nigeria, especially in children. So I've mentioned the issue of personnel. I've mentioned the issue of infrastructure, especially diagnostic infrastructure. I've mentioned the issue of accessing drugs. Drugs are costly and not easily available. So these are basic things that we think if we get on top of them, managing cancers in children will be a bit easier if diagnosed early.
Awesome. So in which case, let's take it from there now. So based on that, can you give me the three main misconceptions that are held with cancer, childhood cancer? Misconceptions, because
thank you for that question. There are a lot of misconceptions in our setting.
Yeah.
Going from the perspective of religion, there are three basic religions practiced in Nigeria. We have the Islamic faith, the Christian faith, and of course the traditional faith. Many of our people are just religious, too, and extremely religious when it comes to issue of diagnosing cancer. They believe a lot of superstition. Many of them, they believe in wicked acts of wicked people. So many of them believe that cancer, number one, maybe is as a result of the sin of the family, that God is just visiting them to punish them because of their sin. Some believe it's an attack from witches, from wizards, or from one enemy within the family setting. And so, because of that, convincing them that a child has cancer is a bit difficult in our setting. If a majority don't believe, even the well-learned, well-read individuals, they still find it difficult that a child can develop cancer. It's still a big problem in our setting. We did a study recently under publication now, more than 85% of our people in our own community didn't believe that children can have cancer. They don't just come to term that a child can develop cancer. And so once you tell them that this is cancer, the next thing is, before you know it, they go to traditional healer. Some go to face-based, to practice their this thing either to the church or to the mosque for prayers. So that big misconception is still there, that a child cannot develop cancer, that it is an attack. It's a big issue in our setting. That is one big misconception which we need to let our people understand, that it is not an attack from the enemy. Rather, it is a disease that developed from the body, from the abnormal cells in the body. So we need to let them know. And to that, we need to create a lot of awareness, which we are doing currently in our own setting. We are doing quite a lot of awareness on the radio, the television, going to the marketplaces, going to the schools, religious places, giving head talk, creating awareness everywhere. So that is a big misconception. Few of them that believe, okay, maybe you are right, cancer, there and that. Like I said, they believe that prayer takes care of everything. And so they will go to healing homes instead of coming to the hospital at the right time. They will only come after the cancer has advanced in stages and all this stuff. After they have tried all sorts, that is when they eventually return back to the hospital, when practically nothing can be done. So we need to let them know that it's not an attack. It's a disease arising from abnormal cells within the body.
Thank you. Sorry, I actually got you there because I wanted Kemi to now give me Kemi, and I need you to give me, and seriously, I need you to give me 3. Don't go far. How did your family support and the support system you had help you navigate? And I want you to be very sharp with that because I have something else I want to ask you. So I want you to be very sharp.
To be honest, I think that I want to say thank you to my family, despite the inadequate information that they had at the time. They were quite supportive. My father was a present father. Despite his status, he was available for me. My mother was present for me. My mother was in the hospital throughout, even though, as doctors mentioned, there's the religious part, but that didn't mean that we didn't take care of the medical part. But my mother would always find solace in the mosque. Mother would always go to the mosque to pray. My siblings were also very supportive. We're young, naive, a lot of things were not clear to us. My school was very supportive. Like I mentioned, I didn't have to repeat classes. What I did was just write my crossover examinations and meet up with my peers. So that stage was easier for me to integrate. I didn't have to feel some sort of way. Even though sometimes I think of it that it could be perhaps because of my status, because what I see now is quite different for children. It's a difficult one for them to go back to that same school. But I had very good acceptance. The only thing that, like I mentioned, that because of lack of information, it was not easy for them to help me with my psychological parts. And that was the bigger one for me. So when I had mental disorder, no one really understood what I was going through, and they didn't know how to help. And I also could not communicate. That's one thing you see in children. Most times they can't express themselves, how they're feeling, because it's difficult to even tell how they're feeling. But when if I have to rate it, I had very good support system, family, friends.
Awesome, Kemi. Now, as I'm rounding up right now, and I needed to you're going to give a final message, but in the same conversation, I've got to let people know that in commemoration of this World Cancer Day, we're at this point calling on health workers, professionals, private sectors, and communities to join hands in this fight, because every child deserves a chance to live, dream, and achieve. And by increasing awareness, advocating for better policies, and supporting families, we can turn the vision into a reality. Together we fight, together win. So, Kemi, there's somebody I want us to appeal for. And I want you to do the appeal on that behalf. And we're going to appeal for a childhood cancer survivor like you. The government, the help should come to the person. So can you give out this appeal, please?
Okay, so this, thank you, Dr. Dennis. Thank you so much. Nigerians, we have many children that have had challenges from the effect of their treatment on cancer. We have Chidera. Chidera is a bright, beautiful young lady. She had osteosarcoma, cancer of the bone, which affected her leg, and they had to amputate one of her legs. We are seeking support to get prosthetics for her. You can either buy it for her or donate money for us to help her get it. She's a beautiful lady, has good thing going on for her, and she just needs the support of Nigerians to help her live healing life. Thank you so much, and we're expecting donors on her behalf.
And in the same vein, I want to say a very big thank you all for joining us this evening. And thank you, Kemi. Thank you, Dr. Olufemi, for all your insight, for Kemi for opening your heart and opening your story to us and helping us to understand what childhood cancer is all about. And to all our viewers, we say we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you. We'll see you again next week. Follow us on all our social media handles, on Plus TV social media handles, on Common Cancer Foundation social media handles. You can watch all our videos and everything on our YouTube channels, on our Instagram pages, on our Facebook, everywhere. We'll see you soon. Looking forward to seeing you next week.